And for that, I need to put something very special on the screen, just for you, Allan. Please come to the stage. Because it seems that St. Patrick's Day is today, and the Irish have taken over the backstage chat, or those with Irish descent. So, hi, Allan, and welcome again. You've done a lot of work as MC already today and given a talk. Thanks for saving the day with the one speaker. How are you today, except feeling green and, energetic?
Feeling green. There's a pint of Guinness in my life after this talk, which I can tell you. But yeah, doing well. Nice to see you here as well. Finally bump into you.
Okay, and you have your slides ready and you're ready to go. So with the previous talk, I think this API portals talk is very relevant right now. So let's go, Allan.
Okay, so it's not a fancy title. I'm going to talk about API portals, a bit of what and why, give you a demonstration, okay, what a couple of API portals might look like. And let's get started. So I'm Allan. If you don't know me, I'm the CEO, co-founder of Apiable. I also call myself an API product manager. That's my specialty subject over the last few years. Apiable has an API portal as a service. So you can put that on top of any API gateway that you have. My experience over the last 20 plus years now, shall we say, is mainly in larger enterprises, but I've been running this startup for a couple of years now, which is good fun. So let's crack on then. What is an API portal? So if we define an API portal, it's the most simplistic terms. It's about getting a developer API keys, right, with some documentation on how to use the API, right? That's like the minimum viable API portal. In that case, I would call it a developer portal. So that's more or less what we've been doing now for the last 10 years, right? We've been doing a lot of these more developer-focused portals. What we're starting to see from a lot of companies are, more advanced portal. If I were to kind of group these together, I would say they treat the API as a product. So if you haven't heard that term over the last couple of days, then you must have had your self on mute or something, and present them on a marketplace like portal, right? So what we're saying here is that if you have a marketplace, you can talk to more than just the developer, right? Developer is still a very important persona, but having marketplace type API portals allows you to sort of talk to a greater number of people effectively. Let's kind of just write those down quickly. So as I said, simple cases, very developer centric. It's used to get the API keys. There's a documentation part there as well, which is very important. It's normally the first thing that people think of is, developer portal. It's the API specification that you see there. And, normally some sort of, a contact for support, quite basic, simple cases, but, these are the bare minimum you need. More advanced cases, we see, you'll see an example from Mercedes in a little while where they have at least started to accept the fact there are multiple roles involved in coming to the API portal, right? So different user journeys. We're starting to see those come out a little bit. As I said, marketplace where you can, see the product and, subscribe to that product. This subscription based is important because SaaS is everywhere now, and people just kind of expect the fact that they can subscribe to an API product and get better or worse service depending on their subscription. Monetization, now we're starting to see monetization come out a lot more. We've been talking about it for 10 years, and I think we're starting to get there with the monetization cases of these things as well. And then things like webhooks. So in the previous one, we saw this whole event-driven things. Webhooks. I'm a huge fan of webhooks. Have been for a long time, but we simply don't see that kind of support in the portal. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about now, is also putting like webhook support in the portal, so a developer can say, okay, this is the callback URL, etc. I think we may have jumped a slide, but yeah, without one, you're at risk. So why would you? Why could you not live without an API portal? Because you're at risk if you don't have one, right? You need to authenticate the user. In this case, normally a developer comes in a little bit later in the process, but preferably with multi-factor. So you need to, say, are you authentic? Are you a real person? Can I trust you with my APIs? Do I know, who's using them effectively? A lot of companies still send API keys by email. I know this happens. It's happened in organizations I've worked in. I always, told people off, but they still did it anyway, right? I mean, it's not that email is especially insecure nowadays. It's encrypted, etc. But, it's impossible to see, okay, where that email went, right? Who forwarded it to whom, and who has access to these keys, etc. And, in case of a breach, where a developer's app or something has gotten hacked, the developer needs a mechanism to, switch off or rotate the API keys quickly. And, if you're just sending emails around, etc., that's not a valid way of doing these things. There's a lot of talk this conference about the number of security incidents that there have been happening. And I think Mehdi sort of hinted at the fact that during the coronavirus lockdown, organizations just got whatever APIs they had and threw them, publicly, say, hey, here we are, without thinking of securing them. So a massive number of problems. So you need a way of securely onboarding your customers and users, developers to your APIs and making sure they're secure. Not having an API portal leads to missed opportunities, right? So you kind of miss a large part of joining the API economy, which is, making your APIs available. APIs, providing this value proposition to customers and partners via services and data. So what this is saying is that using the API portal and the APIs to provide this value proposition. And yeah, the key thing is that the API portal is effectively your shop window. So we're all the time talking about API products. If you have a product, but you have no shop window or, marketplace or app store to effectively sell that digital product, then you're not in the API economy, full stop, right? You don't have a shop window to sell it. Yeah, but sometimes as well, missed opportunities in terms of, it's not always about monetization. Monetization is there, but sometimes we're also trying to lock in existing customers so they can't go anywhere else. If they've fully integrated their systems into yours, it's like a strategic lock-in, right? And the API portal facilitates that relationship. Let's have a look at a couple of examples here as well. So we're talking a lot about documentation here. This is where it's like, classic API portal, developer portal is very much led by the documentation. You scroll to the bottom of an organization's web page, you see the word like API or developer, you click on it, a lot of time you end up in like, a standard kind of read.cli page with some Swagger or OpenAPI specification on the page. And that's nice, right? Developers like that kind of thing. What they don't like so much is within that document at the top somewhere, it basically says, if you want access to this API, send us an email. If you really want access to the API, you're going to do it, right? Even developers can send emails. Whatever you do, don't ask them to call you. No developer is actually going to call you. That would be ridiculous, right? But they may send an email, may send fill out a contact us page. But what a developer wants is not to get in touch, if at all possible. They just want access to your API, please, as soon as possible. So that's kind of like, you know, on the, you know, where we are, but where we could be is, you know, as my favorite portal in terms of design, you know, developer.mercedes-benz.com. I don't know how much money they spent on this portal, but it was worth it because it looks beautiful. I mean, as you would expect from Mercedes, right? I'm sure Lewis Hamilton has been here and used a few APIs for sure. But one of the key things I wanted to take away from this is, as I said earlier, organizations that are starting to realize that, hey, business people are interested in APIs. You might have to call it something else other than an API, but business people are often the decision makers in organizations on if an API is used. If you have a very simple API product, then yeah, maybe a developer with a credit card can sign up and get going, right? That's fantastic. But, you know, when we're talking more about, you know, Mercedes-Benz, etc., if you want to work with some of their APIs and get access to a whole bunch of cars or something, you're probably going to have some sort of an agreement there, right? So enterprise business customers, right? And having that channel. So yeah, go and check these portals out as well. Have a look around at your favorite companies, see what developer portals they have. It's normally always at developer dot, although I prefer digital dot personally. Developer.hsbc. Again, you know, kind of fresh kind of look to it, but this one I was just looking at the, you know, like card, what I call more of the marketplace style kind of catalog here, in that you get at least some information about, okay, what it's doing, some you know, features when you get drilled down into that. So many of these are around. You can go to the OP developer one as well. I think Nordia has one, etc. So have a look around at some of these developer portals. All right, what should you put on your API portal? So just kind of like cover this quickly. You know, a wise man once said, there's no point having the best portal in the world if you have nothing to put on it. Common sense, right? Consumable API products, right? So products, we all love them. We know what they are. We buy products all of the time. And I think, you know, if there's one word that really stands out to describe a product or an API product, is consumability, right? The fact that you make it consumable. Anybody can come along, find the product, get access to it really quickly, and that means that they have to understand the value proposition. The whole product thing is what we're really talking about here. It just so happens that the product is based on an API, a digital product. And how do you know if I have a good API product? Well, you know, clear value propositions, they're consumable, can't say that too many times, monetizable, or, you know, they're for strategic lock-in, as we mentioned before, understandable by mere mortals, right? So not too heavy on the dev talk, right? So developer is an important person in this, right? On your API portal, you got to have developers come who kind of quickly understand, but that's like a different user journey in there. Mere mortals, business people, especially decision makers, need to understand what you're talking about. How do we present APIs as products? Developers, yeah, they like their documentation, right? They prefer to like try things out if possible, but ultimately when they have a more detailed question, you have to have that documentation ready. And here we have an example from Stripe, one of the best loved developer documentation out there. But even within the developer documentation, if you go to the Stripe, this is your homework after this, go to the Stripe API documentation, and at the top you'll see there's a little note that says, are you a business user? You go, yes. You click the link and you come across to something which looks a bit different, right? So developer would kind of look at this, you know, customer experience and say, nah, well, what is this? You know, just show me the code, please. Whereas, you know, a business person is going to feel a little bit more comfortable browsing, you know, more of a catalog marketplace style thing. And this is how Stripe handles it. It has those two different experiences within its portal effectively. Baking KPIs, right? So prioritize your business goals, but avoid vanity metrics, right? So, number of API calls per day, etc. I mean, it's interesting, but only if it's meeting some sort of a business goal. If you're getting paid like €1 per API call, then yeah, awesome. But really loop it back to your business goals, and we'll see a lot more monetization cases coming out. So that's kind of a little bit about, okay, portals, why you should use them, what goes on to them, etc. I'm going to do a quick section on build versus buy, because this is, one of the questions that we get asked the most. And it's a valid question, right? So if you're going to buy an API portal that comes off the shelf from existing API management vendor, very quick win, right? So all of the API management guys out there, they have some kind of API portal, right? If you check the Gartner Magic Quadrant for full lifecycle API management, by definition, these guys must have an API portal. So you should definitely check out that API portal and have a look at it. As I said, all of them have some sort of portal. You don't need to do any like crazy integration normally. The API portal is already, integrated into your API management system. So it's just going to, work out of the box effectively. And enterprise architects love this kind of thing, right? They love having all of their eggs in one basket. Maybe that's changing a little bit, but everything from Big I or something like this, right? They like to say, okay, well, if it's from the same people, then it's an advantage for us, right? Yeah, absolutely. There can be advantages to buying everything from one person. Can also be disadvantages. I mean, honestly, if I speak to all of the API management companies out there, I would say, okay, go and have another look at your API portal, because in some cases, honestly, they've not been looked at for years. They were good enough to get through onto the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and then nothing for years, right? And security vulnerabilities, that kind of thing, can be expensive. Sometimes they're kind of bundled into licenses, and you just get them for free. If you're getting charged for external ones, I've seen eye-watering bills for API portals, so check that. Can still require quite some development, bespoke changes to get them ready for your brand, and also require some ongoing maintenance as well. So switching from a buy scenario to a build scenario, why would you build your own portal? And this case makes most sense if the API is your core product. So if you're like an API first, API led organization, if your product is an API, probably you're going to want to build out a custom portal. That's like one of the only times I would really suggest you do it. Yeah, exactly what you want, right? I mean, look at Mercedes-Benz, right? Their marketing, branding team love that portal, I imagine. I don't know anyone from there, but I imagine that the marketing team is like, yeah, this is fantastic. Because I've seen other organizations, shall we say. I actually sat next to someone in marketing from a certain company at a growth hacking event, and said, oh yeah, I saw your API portal the other day, and I brought it up and I showed it to her, and she just screamed. It was so terrible. But if you're building a custom portal, then you get really bang on with your brand, of course. Yeah, I mean, like expense, yeah, for a large organization, the expense in purely financial terms might not be such a big problem, but it's going to cost you, right? You got to go cap in hand to your boss and ask for 70, 80, 100,000 euros to build one of these things. And one of the biggest complaints I hear is organizations that have done this and are fed up with maintaining it going forwards, because of course the API management, the API gateway changes in the background, and you need to keep up with those changes going forwards. And the other objection to building is that you have to put together a project to build the API portal. You're going to have to sit around and talk about it for a long time. And the time invested in it is one of the biggest killers there. Kind of another buying side this time, API portal as a service, kind of best of breed standalone API portal that you can plug into any API management system. With these kind of things, you're getting continuous improvements with new features all the time. So, webhooks and things like this. You can subscribe to these API portals as a service. You don't need to invest a whole bunch of capex up front, like I just mentioned. If you're going to have a bespoke portal, you need to have a lot of capital. But here, if it's subscription based, you might not even notice it go out. It's run as a service, so you don't need to worry about API management upgrades. So you can sort of trust the vendor that they're taking care of that. We know against any API gateway, right? So if your organization has multiple API gateways, with these, it's normally no problem. The API portal as a service can integrate with many different API gateways simultaneously, right? So you can have one product from one API gateway, another from the other. If these things are hosted off premise, then you need to talk to this company about, data security. It's a big factor. Of course, you no longer have, finite control if it's as a service, typical SaaS things. There are very few of these portals as a service around. I know of a couple others, but Apiable, of course, has a portal as a service. I bet you didn't see that one coming, did you? And of course you did, right? Apiable has this portal as a service concept. And demos available on this. This is kind of, the demo environment here. I'm using a screenshot, and, we're rolling this thing out now. As we said, technology agnostic. You can use whatever API gateway you have in the background. API product space with subscriptions, all of the cool stuff I was talking about before. For monetization, be it like a one-time charge or then a recurring monthly charge on there, full content management, that kind of stuff. And it's available now, basically. If you would like to use it, just, get in touch. This is, and Mariukka will be able to confirm as well, this is APIable, not apiable, as some Finnish people say. But you can, reach out to me on email or on, LinkedIn, where I hang out most of the time. So I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Allan. And I was just going to say that apiable is so really, like, you should really make that a marketing thing. I still remember your popsicles for my API upcycle.
That's right.
So this is payback. But hey, Matthias has a question here that is a very simple but very devious question. What should be the default view of the API portal, developer view or business view?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
It is, right? I mean, I would lean towards business because it's maybe a little bit more forgiving. So a developer can kind of look at a high level product and it's going to describe the product. It's going to have like it's going to have some marketing text, but maybe some features which describe it, etc. Maybe a video that promotes it, etc. The developer can get something from that. Developer doesn't especially like that kind of thing. They want to go quite quickly into the development part. Whereas if you flip it around, if you have like a business person with, very little technical acumen, and you immediately start to push them into very technical documentation, they'll say, that's not for me, and they'll leave, right, immediately. So I would say the other way around.
Yeah, I agree, because like we had this joint project or couple last autumn. I think that in both of those cases, we went for the kind of business and then clearly saying that, hey, there is something for the developers, but there is that thing which we were sorting out in one of the projects that, if you have this businessy portal or web page, and then you have to dig through a lot of business stuff before you get to that developer stuff, that isn't good.
No, that's not good. No.
Somebody's saying in the, Arlem is saying that he really likes the Twilio portal, and that is an interesting thing. What is your take on Twilio portal? Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like, as a whole, I think one of the things, Twilio is, one of the most popular things that we talk about at Apidays, right? If you took like a map of all the words that were spoken, Twilio would probably appear like 50 times a day or something or more. It's a very popular case, but I think they have one thing, like in the beginning, I said, if you have a product that targets a developer, and I spoke about this in another one as well, Twilio is exactly that, right? So they target developers, shall I say, predominantly in the US, who have a credit card, who can sign up to send like an SMS, right? It's a very developer-centric API product, right? So they can, talk to developers quite easily and be very comfortable with that. I have a lot of companies that I mean, like say Ollie is talking about, with Abloy, for example, his customers are, larger enterprises and partners and things like this, right? So my answer is basically depends on the kind of API product you have and your audience, right? And Twilio have a very developer-centric audience.
Yeah, I would say that, and there are like different audiences even in the same company. That I've heard kind of experienced senior developers / architects say that it's like, and I had that first experience with Twilio portal years ago when I first started using it, that it was frustrating because it went so straight to the code and the examples, and then when you try to get yourself kind of a full picture of the API and stuff, it was a bit hard. And I remember that there was this big retail company, and we had to tell them that, hey, let's use Twilio. And the purchasing department people were trying to, understand what is this, and it was a nightmare. So I'm not saying that Twilio's portal is bad, but I do say, and it has developed. It is not the same portal that it used to be. But I say that, yes, exactly that, and the different roles within that same company need to be minded. So I would tend to go to that kind of business thing. But hey, I think that's all questions that we have from the audience, plus our time is up, so I think we can wrap this up, and you can maybe go have that green pint of beer or something weird.
Okay. All right, lovely. Thank you.
Okay, see you. Bye.